You've arrived to episode 1 of So Led with Amy Ruth. I'm so happy you're here. When we look back at this episode 5, 10 years from now, we can say that you are the OG. You have been here since day 1, episode 1. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. So today we're going to talk about what it means to be soul led and what the opposite of that is. And then also, I want to give you a little bit of background as to how this podcast even came to be. Like sometimes I feel like when you create something and embark on a project, it literally feels like you're giving birth to something completely new. And there's a lot of emotions that have gone on to even creating this first episode. So if we start with the definitions, or at least the definitions that I've created for what this means for me and how I explain it to clients and people that I serve. The way that I see it, it is not religious based. So let's get that out of the way. Because I was actually talking to my boyfriend and he's like, I think that you should really focus in on like what spirituality is, what soul led means. Cause sometimes people hear the word soul and they're like, oh no, like this must be like some sort of like religion based thing. And it really isn't. So soul led to me means connecting in with your inner wisdom and really allowing yourself to lead a life that is not based on obligations and expectations that people have put on you or that you've taken on. And so, how do you get to that point where you really trust yourself and can really take action out of alignment rather than expectation, obligations within your society or within the environment that you live in or within your culture? Well, it starts with clearing out this internal clutter. And this internal clutter, the way that I see it, is made up of your belief systems. And it becomes clutter when you're no longer aligned to it or they are limiting you to reach your next level of success. Because your current beliefs, whether you like them or not, have helped you get to where you are at this point in your life. Now, beliefs only become limiting when they prevent you from reaching your next goal, your next income level, your next level of success. Up until that point, they very much were helping you. They shaped your identity, they shape who you are as a person. And so they only become limiting when they're keeping you stuck, right? Then other things that create this clutter are your thought patterns, your internal dialogue, and what loop you stay on. Is your internal dialogue positive or is your inner critic really loud? Um, Other things that create clutter within yourself that keep you from really aligning to your soul's inner wisdom and being soul led are emotional loops that you might like fall into and kind of feels like a hamster wheel where you can't seem to get out of this emotional loop. And the emotional loops are impacted by your thought patterns, and your thought patterns are impacted by the belief systems that you hold. Other things that create clutter are your habits. Some habits are really great and really help you, and others aren't. And when you start to look at your habits, you can start to do an audit of like, is this actually really good for me? Is it serving me? Is it helping me move forward, become a better person each day? Or is this habit actually weighing me down? Would my future self have this habit? Right? Like, this podcast is for soul led, heart centered entrepreneurs. And so, would your future self have the habit of judging herself for not closing all of the sales calls that she like set out to close that month? Or falling short of the revenue goal that you set for yourself? Like, what are the things that are helping you to reach your goals and manifest your desires? And are the habits that you currently have in place helpful or are they detrimental? So, when we clear this internal clutter, it actually makes space for you to listen to the wisdom that's within you. And the thing is that everyone has this. And somehow we've come to this point in our society where so many people don't even realize that they have this wisdom available to them. And I'm like, how did we get here? Because each and every single one of you has a soul, and your soul holds so much wisdom and knowledge and can guide you so that you live the most authentic, beautiful, joyous, soul led life, so that you're not making decisions based on what your mom thinks you should do, or your partner thinks you should do, or your siblings or your dad, but rather tuning inward and asking, what is it that I'm meant to do in the most soul aligned way? What is my soul here to express on this world in this lifetime? Because if you're constantly going to be living based on the obligations and expectations of everyone around you, that is the fastest way to be the opposite of soul led, which the only words I had for was expectation or obligation led. And that is draining. It creates burnout. It creates lack of clarity, and it steals your peace. So, opposite of soul led, it's leading and moving and living a life for everybody else. So, everybody else led. The opposite of soul led, people pleasers, expectation and obligation led. You make decisions based on everyone else and you don't focus in on what you're here to create and give in this lifetime. So, you base your choices and actions on your family, your society, your job, your culture, the environment that you're in, the friend group that you have. And whenever you have a big decision, and I know this happens a lot, you call up your best friend and it's like, girl, well, what do you think about this? And you hear her out. You're like, okay, got it. And then you call up the other friend and what do you think about this? And then they give you their 2 cents. Then you call up the other friend. Oh, what do you think about this? And they give you their 2 cents. The thing and the problem with that is that every time you ask for someone's advice or opinion, they're going to give you their opinion based on the lens that they see the world through. And what creates that lens for them? Their belief system. So if you are in alignment with their belief system and you love the life that they live, like every single aspect of it, and you would instantly in a heartbeat trade shoes and put yourself in their shoes in every aspect of their life, then by all means go for it. But I would say like 99.99% of you would not trade places with the person that you're asking for advice. And when you outsource your decision making, you send a signal to your body and to into your soul, your essence of what's inside of you, that you don't trust yourself, that you don't trust yourself with the decisions and the actions that need to be taken in your life. And so you're looking for validation outside of yourself. You're looking for resources outside of yourself when really they're all found within. And the thing is that I don't blame you for doing that because we weren't taught how to be so led. If we were, we would be in a very different situation in our entire society and in the world. And so that's why I created this podcast, because my mission here on earth in this lifetime is to connect as many people as possible with our inner light so that you can live the most authentic, impactful, heart centered life and bring your joys and talents to the people that are meant to experience them and the people that you're here to serve. So, how this podcast came to an existence, because it was very much a soul-led experience. And at first I wasn't going to talk about it. I just actually had this conversation with my boyfriend where he's like, well, why don't you make your first podcast about the struggles of starting the podcast? And I was like, no. I'm like too in it right now to even talk about that. And he's like, okay. He's so intuitive. And I was like, maybe I'll do it later on when I've moved through it all, right? And then I was pulling cards. I love to pull tarot cards and oracle cards, and obviously to connect in with my own inner wisdom. And it was like a slap in the face because literally the first card was the Eight of Swords, which is your only limitation is mental. It is like your own mental obstacle that you're creating. Everything else in the spread that I got um, showed that I would be successful and that this is exactly what the world needs. Um, so I also got, let's see, the High Priestess, the Queen of Cups, and the Three of Wands. And so, what does all that mean? It means that under my resistance was actually the fear of success, because internally, like my soul is saying, hey, we're here to share this wisdom and it's going to be big. And my conscious mind was like, no, 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 this is too much to take on, right? And it's creating this mental chaos. And then the Queen of Cups is like, hey, you're here to have this like emotional leadership role and like step up into it. And then the Three of Wands is like, expansion happens through your visibility of your podcast. And I was like, fine, I'll do it. So that was like the thread that really helped me even come up with the idea of this first episode. But prior to that, let me like kind of take you back in time to give you like an overall picture of how this came to be. Is I've been getting messages in meditation, in hypnotherapy sessions, in my automatic writing sessions that I do for myself, that I need to speak and I need to share my voice. And I kept saying, okay, I will. And then I never took action. And I was like, yeah, 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 I will. Never took action. Finally, it was like so loud, I could not ignore it. So I'm part of a soul coaching program with my business coach and soul coach, Kyla Tustin. She's based out of Australia. I love her to death. And we were doing a creative sprint where we come together for an hour and just like really focus in on business work. And she guided us through a soul journey, which is a type of hypnotherapy. And we tune into the subconscious mind and we tune into our superconscious, which is like your soul's inner wisdom and guidance system. And in it, it was like, Amy, you need to create and launch this podcast now. And I was like, okay. It was almost like I was being scolded by my soul and by my spirit guides. And I was like, okay, got it. Point taken, noted. So in that hour of work together, I just started prepping everything for the podcast. And then I just kind of let it sit for a week. And I'm like, okay, I got the message that I need to launch on 1 2026. Now, the numerology is beautiful. It adds up to the number 3, which is very much connected to communication. But then also the day 1 is the number 1. Like there's so many ones in it, right? And then the year 2026 is all the number 1 because 2 plus 2 is 4 plus 6 is 10. Then you simplify that. 1 plus 0 is the number 1. So we are entering this year, 2026, the year number 1, which is all about new beginnings, initiations, leadership, taking action. And so then I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I really need to do this, right? Like this is another message so loud that I can't just ignore. So that was also like running in the back of my mind. And I was like, okay, I'm going to commit to launching on January 1st. And then I was like, what time should I even launch this? And I instantly saw the numbers 1111. And I was like, okay, got it. So the thing is that like these signs are subtle because you could easily miss them, right? Like it's a slight like whisper in my ear that says 11:11, and then I see the numbers 11:11, and then they keep showing up, and then someone messages me at 11:11. I'm like, okay, I get it, right? Like they're just then become louder and louder and louder, and you can easily just kind of like write it off as like, oh, that's just a coincidence. But guess what? Nothing in this life is a coincidence. It's all a message, and your guides and your soul are always trying to give you messages. The question is are you listening and do you believe it? Because part of living a soul-led life is coming back to yourself and truly trusting that what you're receiving from your environment is part of the message that you're asking for, right? And that trust is what keeps the majority of people from really living a soul-led life because they don't trust themselves enough to take the action or make the call or start the project. Because all of their life, they have been trained to do things and seek things outside of themselves. So when it comes to trusting themselves and really going inward, it's scary and it's unfamiliar. And most of us don't know how to do it. And so here is So Led with Amy Ruth. And I'm so excited to share so much information and wisdom that I have that I've learned over the last 8 years in my own spiritual journey and process I've learned working with thousands of clients because I think that heart centered leaders are needed in this world more than ever, especially with all of the hatred and fear that we're being fed. And if you can go inward, you turn on your little light, and that light just completely cancels out the darkness. Think about like a dark room and you turn on the candle. That candle lights up this entire room full of darkness. And so each time that someone listens or you share this with somebody, it's going to allow you and that other person to turn on that candle inside you, that fire, that spark. You have it within you. And I know that you can lead a soul led life and release the expectations and obligations and the trauma and the woundings that have kept you down and kept you from really radiating that inner light to the world. As we wrap up this first episode, I remind you that to live a soul led life means to tune in and to hear the messages and the whispers that your soul has for you so that you can really live from a place of alignment and authenticity rather than from a place of expectations and obligations. And with that, I leave you. Bye for now.